Home ownership is the American dream. Staking a claim of your own piece of land is an anchor. It's a port in the storm. Home is a place that you love and feel loved. It creates security and connection. And investing in real estate is most likely the largest investment you will make in your life. If you are ready to jump into the buyer's pool and stake your claim, here are the 5 mistakes that you will definitely want to avoid. I believe homes and people match. I feel that it's my job as your trusted advisor to guide you home. I will help you to mitigate the risks and calm your fears so that you can make an informed and confident decision. When you start freaking out, and most likely you will, I got you. I see myself as your guide, navigating you on your home buying journey. Home buying is largely a discovery process. Driving through the neighborhoods and walking through the homes will help us uncover what you really want. Whether it is understanding the passion that you have for your children's education, or finding a walkable neighborhood, or having enough land to have chickens and horses, we will uncover what really matters to you most, and we will find the right fit. I will also help you to navigate the negotiations, the inspections, and put out fires along the way. Let's dive into the top 5 mistakes you do not want to make when purchasing a home. Mistake number 1 is thinking that purchasing is a logical decision and that you will be completely rational during the purchasing process. Buying a home is a major life milestone. It's a place where you'll find that you are making memories, creating a space that's truly yours, and where you can put down roots. It's easy to get taken off guard by the highly charged emotions that you will experience during the home buying process. You will find it hard to logically explain what is happening in your head and in your heart. It's important to have a process that will guide you and anchor you so that you can make an informed decision. My client referred me to her daughter and son-in-law who are military and were overseas. Together, they had created a spreadsheet with their needs. This included a minimum of 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. They knew that they wanted an open living space. They also weren't as concerned about the yard. An average, not too big, not too small, was great. They needed a 2-car garage, and they were hoping for an RV spot as well. They really didn't want to invest too much money on updating the home. They were open to a few small changes if they really liked the home. So I sent them a list of possible matches, and they sent me a list of homes to view. Their mom came with me, and we were touring the homes. We found the perfect match. It was in the right area, and through FaceTime, we were able to show them. They were both happy because it checked all the boxes. We made an offer, we went under contract, and we moved forward with inspections. In the meantime, they moved to Utah, and we went through the home to see it in person. It was not an emotional match. They both felt really strange because it just didn't make sense. The home met all of their criteria on the spreadsheet, and there wasn't anything about the home that they didn't like per se. It just didn't have the feels. Neither of them said anything until that they were alone. But later, they both confessed to each other that they just knew it wasn't the right home for them and their children. We canceled and we started right over to find that perfect match. We ended up in a completely different city and a completely different style home that didn't check all the boxes on the checklist. But when we saw the house, they both knew that it was the one. They are both extremely logical and were taken back by the highly emotional process of purchasing a home. We still often talk about it today. They told me that I was seeing a side of them that they didn't even know existed. I assured them that what they were experiencing was completely normal and that I understood and could guide them through the foreign process. In the end, it was the feeling of the neighborhood, the vision of the future that they saw in the home, and the fun surprises that they didn't realize that they would love in a completely different layout and city. They still stand by the connection that they have with their home and say that it was the best purchasing decisions that they've made in their life. Okay, so mistake number 2 is taking advice from family and friends who just want to help you make a smart decision in the home buying process, but don't understand the current real estate market. Your home is one of the biggest investments that you are going to make in your lifetime. Relying on the advice of good intentions of those who love you could be a big mistake. The real estate market, it can change every 21 days. What they experienced and what works for them might not actually work for you. In real estate, it matters who represents you. You want a trusted advisor who will have your back, someone who does real estate as a full-time career. You need to be able to trust them to know that they will care about you and that they're good at what they do. This is when it becomes valuable to work with a professional. I was working with a client who was ready to buy a few years ago, just before the prices really spiked, and you had to then compete with about 20 other offers. We found their home. They loved it. We wrote an offer and we asked for a small reduction. The seller countered and wanted full price. I advised them to go ahead and accept. They knew that it was the right home for them. They had all the fills. I knew that things were heating up and getting much more competitive, and that if we were going to make this work, it was better to do it now. But they had a family member who stepped in and convinced them that if they waited, it would be so much better because the prices were going to come down and then they could get so much more for their money. I used my best knowledge and skill to help them to see evidence that this was not the case and that the market was indeed not going to come down, but the exact opposite. If they decided to wait, they might actually just price themselves right out of the market. In the end, I couldn't get them to move forward. They decided to wait. Unfortunately, they are still waiting. They were indeed priced out of the market and they regret waiting every time we look at numbers to see what they can afford. They're heartbroken that they didn't get the cute little single-family home with a yard that they love so much. I am still hopeful that someday they'll still be able to achieve their dream of homeownership. Now they'll have to settle for a condo until they can work their way up to that single family. But in the end, it's not the end of the world. They will have to work a little bit harder and make a little bit more sacrifices, but it's still worth it so that they can achieve the American dream. Mistake number 3 is falling in love with a home without getting a pre-approval for the loan first. When you're buying a home, it's common to start looking at homes long before a meeting with a mortgage lender. Every buyer I talk to has been looking online for months, sometimes even years before we ever even get together. There are some pretty good mortgage calculators online that can give you a good idea of payment, but every buyer is different and payments can vary a lot from what you are seeing online. Just the other day, I had a client send me a home that was advertising a beautiful low payment. In fact, he was actually a little bit upset with me that I hadn't seen it and sent him this home. He felt frustrated that he could find a better price if he just worked with them. We dug into the numbers and realized that they were only representing the principal and interest portion of the payment. They hadn't added in the taxes, they hadn't added in the insurance or the homeowners association fee. That was a difference of over $500 in their monthly payment. So you can see why it's extremely important that you know your true numbers before you dive into the home hunting process. And there are several reasons for that. First, if you don't know what your payments will be, you could be completely crushed when you find your dream home and realize that there is no way that you could actually afford it. Second, no seller will even consider an offer without a lender's pre-approval letter. The pre-approval process can take a few days or even a few weeks, depending, for the lender to confidently issue the pre-approval letter. In today's market, you may find that the housing inventory is tight because there are far more buyer demand than affordable housing on the market. In such a competitive market, the home could be under contract with another buyer before you even have a chance to obtain your pre-approval. Clients are actually afraid of the loan process, and that makes sense. They don't want to be told no, that they don't qualify. They've heard that it's really difficult to apply for the loan process. They let their fears overcome their desire of homeownership, when in all actuality, it's really not that bad. The lender will want you to fill out an online application and give permission for them to run your credit. They will ask you to send them the most recent 2 years of taxes, 30 days pay stubs, and 90 days bank statements. With this, they can get you well on your way and help you get a pre-approval in hand so that you can buy your dream home. Okay, mistake number 4 is waiting to buy until you can afford your forever home. This will actually work against you. You'll need to be prepared to make some sacrifices and to get into a home that you can actually afford right now and focus on having a future goal of moving up over time. Leveraging the equity in your home will increase your purchasing power in the future. On the list of common first-time homebuyer mistakes is looking for the home that checks all the boxes. Looking for that perfect home could narrow your choices and lead you to reject some good, suitable options in the hopes that something better will come along. Unfortunately, thinking that you have to get it all right now will actually serve as a roadblock to your long-term goals. A better way of thinking would be to consider how your sacrifices over time will increase your capacity to obtain your dream home in the future. I was working with a buyer who was in this exact predicament. In the end, they decided to stick with the city that they most wanted and sacrifice the age and the size of the home that they could have gotten if they were willing to go to a different city. We chose a home that needed some TLC. They slowly made improvements over the following 4 years until we were then able to sell their home and purchase a much larger one with more upgrades in the same area where they really wanted to live. We often reflect on the difficult decision it was for them to purchase a home that was not their dream home and to put in so much sweat and tears to patiently waiting until they could really afford the home of their dreams. They felt really blessed that they purchased at a perfect time before values made a huge jump. The best part of the story is that their payments, once they made the move, were only slightly larger than the home that they originally bought. I have another example of a cute young couple that was looking to buy their first home. They were under the misconception that they had to have a 20% down payment to buy a home. They had no idea that they could actually purchase a home without that 20% down payment. We ran a comparison with the current market and we did an estimate of how much equity that they would have if they purchased with the money that they did have immediately versus how long it would take for them to save that 20% down payment. They saw the value literally in dollars and cents that they could have from the equity in their home by paying down their mortgage versus scrimping and saving up all that cash. We purchased right then and there at the perfect time, and they experienced double-digit growth in equity. They're so grateful that they found out that they could purchase without having to save, and they didn't have to wait. It is a misconception that you need 20% as a down payment. There are actually loan types that will allow you to borrow your down payment and you can purchase with as little as $3,000. It would be worth exploring your loan options if you were under this misconception that you did need a 20% down payment. Okay, mistake number 5 is switching banks, buying a car, or making another expensive purchase, missing a payment, or changing jobs during the home buying process. A big part of qualifying for a home is your debt to income ratio. This determines how much you can spend on your new home. There is a verification process that you will go through once you have chosen that home. The lender will need to verify your employment, your debt. They will need to look at your bank statements to prove that you're earning enough to afford your payments. They will need to see that your debt doesn't take up too much of your income. They'll need to know that your job is secure and that you are going to be able to continue to have the income that you need to successfully make your payment. Once you're under contract, you will want to freeze any decisions to make any of the changes that we talked about until after the home buying process is 100% complete and you have keys in your hands. I have a client who was working at a paid internship when we were in the purchasing process. We were under contract and he was offered a permanent position with a higher pay at a company that he loved. So of course, without thinking, he took the offer and made the move. Now, that would seem like a smart decision, right? But this caused a huge disruption in our qualifying process. The lender needs 30 days pay stubs if you switch to a new job. So before we could move forward, we were going to have to wait out those 30 days. We were days away from signing, and to qualify, we were now going to have to push it back and ask for a 30-day extension. The seller refused the extra time, and we had to cancel contract because of the new employment. It was so sad. Another client ran into car trouble just a few days before we were signing and needed a new car. Went to the car dealership, and they convinced him to just purchase the car because surely it would not show up on his credit. That's what they said. They lied. It showed up on the final credit pull the day of closing, and we no longer qualified to buy the home. Unfortunately, we had to cancel. I really hate sharing these stories because they're heartbreaking, but they are also cautionary tales so that I hope that they can help you to avoid making these same mistakes. Now that I've shared with you the top 5 mistakes that buyers make, can you imagine yourself making any of these mistakes? Finding a trusted advisor who can guide you through the buying process and help you overcome these mistakes can make all the difference. The journey can be an adventurous one where you allow the stress and skillfully conquer the obstacles that will be placed in your way. If you want a trusted advisor to help you navigate the pitfalls and roadblocks that are part of the home buying process, give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email, and I will be happy to talk you through the process and figure out your next steps. My information is in the description below. If you have a question that I did not address, leave me a comment and I will get you an answer. Until next time, happy dreams of your future home.